Hello viewers, this is Paladin of Odin, and this is some more Magic the Gathering Online. This is another episode of the Standard Commentary series. So, second turn Hangerback Walker. Almost looks like it's a mono green deck. Yep, it is. It's mono green ramp. This is Pilgrimage. Now this other guy, no idea what he's playing. Doesn't use his fetch lands yet. Yeah, thanks Magic for those helpful hints. Really like that art. It's really neat. Monastery Mentor. So maybe blue-white control, maybe blue-white prowess. Well, that's unusual. I haven't seen a white tilt on the ramp deck before, and I definitely didn't see that coming. I mean, this is a really good card to fight off early aggro. 6 toughness is nearly impossible to handle in like a red aggro deck. You'd have to have very specific circumstances to be able to punch 6 combat damage into that, or 2, maybe even 3 burn spells now to be able to handle that. So, Citadel Siege. Haven't seen that in a while. What does he pick? He picks dragons. So he went for the control, which makes sense. It's an easy way of making this wall useless. Tap it, get it out of the way, force him to block with something else. Especially since he could respond with the Hangerback Walker and just buff it up. But now you don't have your big shield to protect you. I am curious though how deep white runs in his deck. Stasis Snare. Goodbye, Hangerback Walker. Because this is the first time I've ever seen the a white slant on the. I've seen red, I've seen blue. Shrine of the Forsaken Gods. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana for Ugin. Is he gonna sack the Sanctum? No, he is not. It's looking like he's needing that 8th mana. And what is it? 3, 4 would get rid of everything. And he goes for 4. Wipes out the entire board. Back, unfortunately, comes back as a 0/0 and dies immediately. But now he has a Nukin, and the blue blue-white player has nothing. He really does need something right now. And a good aggressive creature, preferably with 4 toughness, or something that can get rid of Ugin. There's Nissa's Renewal. And that was something that I completely forgot about when I was discussing why people are running the Eldrazi ramp decks, which I've noticed that nobody bothers to call Eldrazi ramp decks, they just call them ramp decks. I completely forgot about the Planeswalkers. I was talking about how cheap these decks are, and, you know, running 4 copies of Ugin is not cheap. But I'll do some research to figure out, because I still have a feeling like it's probably a cheaper option than some of the other decks out there. You know, even if you are running 4 copies of Ugin, pretty much everything else in the deck, not really that expensive. Unless Sanctum of Ugin and Shrine of the Forsaken Gods are really expensive because this deck is good. You know, if these are up in price, then my argument for it being a cheap deck might be completely out the window. So the control deck, he is in serious deep shit. You know, it doesn't look like it based on the, you know, how empty the board is, but the fact that he has an Ugin that's just continually going up, completely unmolested, and you are doing nothing to stop him. Oh shit, here's Ulamog. You know, having an unrestrained Ugin is bad enough. I'm pretty sure this game is over. Even if he counters Ulamog. Secure the wastes for 6. Oh, that is not going to save you. I mean, it'll keep you alive for a little while thanks to Ulamog not having trample. One of his few downfalls is that he doesn't have trample. But 2 swings and he's dead, whether he connects or not. Ulamog can -0 and clear the board, so he can kill him in a single turn. Oh, Stasis Snare. So he did have the tool he needed to be able to save himself. Ugin will be alive for 1. He can -0 and get rid of your tokens and stay alive. So unless you have an end of turn secure the wastes for 1, he burned 1. Ulamog number 2. And he concedes. I commend him for fighting that out for as long as he did. I would have conceded back when Ugin was at 7 loyalty and he had just dropped the first Ulamog. And sorry I didn't come immediately back. I was doing some research to find out about how cheap the ramp deck is. Nothing happened, thankfully, in the time that I was away. But yeah, depending on how cheap you get your Ugins for, this deck is really cheap. Ugin is really the only expensive card in here. You know, Ulamog isn't very expensive. The rare lands are cheaper than, well, I won't say cheaper than dirt, but, you know, their uses are so limited, you know, that, you know, this deck is pretty much the only one that runs it, that, you know, they are ridiculously cheap. So, counter target non-creature spell. So he's finally started countering stuff. The early secure the waste, which is a good tactic. You know, doing some aggro. This deck doesn't look like it has much in the way of early protection. Looks like he went with that 0/6 wall in place of the more standard things like the Jotty offshoot, or though I haven't seen it yet, which I'm surprised, is I haven't seen anybody use Blister Pod instead of Jotty offshoot. But it makes me wonder about this guy's deck. You know, is the wall his early protection? Does he have 4 copies? And I'd have to argue using the more standard fare of the Jotty offshoot or the Blister Pod versus the 0/6. I mean, no question, it is more staunch than either of those two things combined, but, ooh, retreat to Miria. Ally tokens and +1/+1s. Ooh, that is really dangerous for this ramp deck, since looks like he's having a really slow start. But the wall. If I were him, I would go to the more standard choices of Jotty Offshoot or Blister Pod. If he wants a tough creature, the Jotty Offshoot is good enough. It's hard enough to kill a 0/3. You know, he can block a 1/1 just as well as a 0/6 can. But he has that added benefit of gaining a life every time you play a land. That 0/6, he's a 0/6 nothing. Completely nothing. The Blister Pod, he could trade with one of those 1/1 tokens and then give you the Eldrazi Scion token to ramp with, or, in the event that you don't have enough, block the other 1/1 with it and clear the board. But the fact that he's running white, he could have other stuff in his deck that we haven't seen yet. White gives him a lot of options for slowing down his opponent. Hell, he could be running Secure the Wastes, and that would be actually not a bad idea. Monastery Mentor. Things are really not going well for the ramp deck this game. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 mana. He has what he needs to play any of his big bombs. And there's Ulamog. I'd sack one Sanctum. So gets rid of the retreat and the Monastery Mentor, which is smart. Those guys make tokens pretty much for free. He sacks one Sanctum. And he sacks two Sanctums. I mean, he does have 6 cards. Well, he had 4 cards in his hand before he did the Sanctums. So he probably has one more land. Because, oh, and he concedes. What I was going to say is because that way you maintain your 10 mana in case he gets rid of Ulamog so that you can play another Ulamog. So, that was a new slant on the green Eldrazi Ramp deck, and that was also a kind of a weird Esper deck. Not as control-y as it really should be. So, I guess, you know,